Today I'm going to be sharing my August TBR, sharing some readathon friendly books, some Japanese literary fiction, and of course some fantasy selections. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, hi, my name is Delancey. I am a registered dietitian by day and an avid, mostly fantasy reader by night, and in this video I'm going to be sharing all the books that I'm hoping to get to in the month of August. August is going to be pretty busy for me work-wise, a lot of work projects going on, but on the reading side of things it should be pretty interesting because I am going to be doing my first readathon since I have rejoined the online book community, and that is the back to school Readathon. I heard about this through Liv from Liv's library. I have followed Liv for so long, have always enjoyed her content. Gosh, maybe since back in 2020, 2019 when I first joined the online book community. So I'm going to dive into those books that I'm planning to read for the readathon first. The readathon is actually at the end of the month from August 25th to August 31st. And what's neat about this readathon is that the prompts are based off of subjects in school. And I've gone ahead, selected some books to fulfill each of those subjects. And for the sake of time, I did do a little bit of layering. So some of the books will fulfill a couple of the prompts at once. But nevertheless, the first two subjects I'm going to be tackling are English and science. For the English subject, you're supposed to read a book that has an academic setting. And for the science subject, you want to select a book that has the sun, the moon, or some stars on the cover. So for these two, I'm going to be reading A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is the first book in a YA dark fantasy series. This is probably the longest book I will be reading for the readathon, but relative to other fantasy books, this is actually pretty short at about just 330 some odd pages. Now the synopsis for this book is a little ambiguous. It is in a school setting, but this school is kind of unique. It's ruthless. There are no teachers. There are no rules. The only objective of students is to survive and graduate alive. And there are apparently monsters that lurk the hallways, and you are surviving in order to become a sorcerer. I'm not entirely sure, but our protagonist is named Elle, and she does possess a great deal of power, a lot of power apparently, that could defeat all of these monsters that lurk the hallways, but I think she has yet to control it, and there is a chance that she might hurt other students in the process. And if I remember correctly, this was one of the nominees for the Goodreads Best Fantasy category back in 2020. This book has been on my shelves for so long, so I'm relieved for the chance to finally pick it up and get the ball rolling on this series. Next up, we have the math category, which is to select a book that has a number in the title. So for this one, I'm gonna go with a novella, Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. I just downloaded it onto my Kindle, and this is actually a book that comes in between the two books in the main Crowns of Nyaxia duology. So I read the first book in this duology maybe a month ago, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Really enjoyed it, hoping to get to the second book soon. It is a vampire romance, a lot of action, fast-paced, steaminess, drama, but this novella comes in between, so I thought this was a great opportunity to pick it up and check it out. From what I've gathered from the synopsis, it is dealing with a completely different cast of characters. Instead, in this novella, we are following a human named Lilith. She has some sort of a terminal illness, and she is living in a town that is crumbling under the weight of this god-cursed disease. It is mysterious and it is fatal, and while Lilith might not make it out alive, she is determined to find a cure for her loved ones. And so she eventually makes a bargain with a vampire named Vale, 6 roses in exchange for 6 vials of vampire blood, whatever that means. And Lilith thinks that this is supposed to be a simple transaction, but things start to get more complicated as she starts to fall in love with Vale. And from there, we apparently have a very steamy, spicy, fun vampire romance. So we'll see what happens. The next prompt we have is PE, which is to read a book that has some sort of activity, could be a sport, but any activity of sorts. And then a kind of sub-prompt for this readathon is to also watch a movie that has a school setting. So for these two, I'm actually going to be watching a couple episodes of the anime Haikyuu. This is based off of a slice of life sports manga. Now, I've read a couple of volumes in the manga, manga, and I've watched a couple of episodes as well of the anime, but it's been a long time, and ever since I went to San Diego Comic-Con back in July, I have been wanting to get back on my anime game, and so I'm trying to do that with Haikyuu. This is the story of a boy named Hinata. He loves to play volleyball, but he is on the shorter side, but he gets inspired when he sees a pro volleyball player who is also short. So he goes ahead in middle school and creates a volleyball team. They play in a tournament and they get absolutely crushed by this opposing team. And Hinata makes this vow that he will extract revenge on the other team's MVP, which is a kid named, I think, Tobio Kageyama. Fast forward to high school, Hinata joins the high school volleyball team, and surprise, surprise, he is on the same team as Kageyama, and the two of them have to learn to work together and be teammates in order to achieve both of their goals. From what I remember, this is a really sweet anime, a really sweet manga as well, and haven't decided yet if I'm just going to watch a couple of episodes during the readathon or if I will be watching one episode a night. We will see. But that is the plan. Next up on the list, we have lunch, which is a very important part of the school day. And for this prompt, you are supposed to read a book that highlights or features some kind of recipe or food item, maybe on the cover or in the actual plot or story. And for this one, I have gone with Miss Ice Sandwich. This is by Miko Kawakami. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. This is a short Japanese literary fiction, I guess you could say novella. It's just under 100 pages, really short. And I really like to do Japanese literary fiction for my readathons because they usually tend to be pretty short. A lot of them have some kind of quirky little fun twist to them, but they all pack really thought-provoking thematic punches. The story of a young boy who falls in love with a woman who sells sandwiches at the market. He calls her Miss Ice Sandwich. He is completely obsessed with her, draws pictures of her, fawns over her, and then one day his friends find out about his big crush on her. And apparently from there, everything changes, as well as, I guess, his last hope at a childhood. Not entirely sure what that means. Apparently this is a story that is short, funny, and moving. It's a coming-of-age story in some ways, and it also talks about learning how to deal with loss. So really looking forward to this one. Because it's under 100 pages, my hope is that I can knock it out in a day, maybe during a reading sprint. We'll see. And then the final two subjects that we have are social studies and art. For social studies, you need to read a book that deals with multiple timelines, and for the art category, you needed to just read a graphic novel or a manga. So for this one, I'm going to be going with the manga Maiden Railways, and I was really looking for a manga that was just one volume. I didn't want to commit to a series following this readathon. It's a collection of, I think, about 7 short stories that deal with romance, all of which happen around this railway system. Apparently there are coming-of-age stories, LGBTQ themes. I don't really know what to expect, but it does sound really interesting. I will let you guys know my thoughts as I go during the vlog that I'm planning to do for this readathon, and we will see if this is a good kind of one-hit, one-volume wonder in terms of manga. So readathon books aside, now we are going to move into the remaining books that I'm hoping to read in August. First up on the list is going to be Pawn's Gambit by Rob J. Hayes. Rob J. Hayes is an independent fantasy author. I discovered his books back in January and have really liked his work. This is the second book in the Mortal Techniques universe. Technically, all the books function as standalones and you could read them out of order, but I prefer to read them in order because then you get to appreciate the Easter eggs and the world building. So we're sticking with that route. I have already started Pawn's Gambit. I'm about 25% of the way through reading it on my Kindle, and I've really enjoyed it. His books are like being inserted into a video game or an anime. The characters are highly stylized, they're morally gray, they're so unique, and they pop off of the page. And what I also really like too is that with Rob J. Hayes, you never know what you're really going to get in the ending, and he is not afraid to kill off the good guys, the characters you enjoy, and he's not afraid to have the good guys fail in the end or lose in the end. So in Pawn's Gambit, we are following a character named General Yu. She used to be this famous war strategist, but recently a wartime decision got her country's beloved prince killed, and now General Yu is on the run from bounty hunters. She's trying to lay low, but gets scouted and recruited to join in this celestial scavenger hunt competition that is held by the gods every century. Champions selected by each of the gods battle it out, and whoever's champion is the last one standing gets to determine the god that sits on the Jade Throne for the next 100 years and ultimately influences the lives of humans for the next 100 years. Now, General Yu does not like the idea of becoming a champion in this competition, but she does make a bargain with a god who says that if she does win, she can bring back her beloved prince and restore her reputation. As a reader, it is really fun to follow a war strategist who tries to outthink her competitors, who are often these assassins, these skilled swordsmen, warriors, heroes, and she doesn't have much of a fighting ability, but she has her brain that she uses to outwit and outmaneuver her competitors. It just makes for a really interesting read. So I'm liking it so far, and definitely planning to finish this in the month of August. Next up on the list, we have Cytonic, which is the third book in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. People, I am really late to the game on my Skyward progress. I read the first book, Skyward, back in maybe 2019, 2018. Read the second book, Starsight, which I have the physical copy of, back in 2020, and I totally fell off the boat for the third book. So I'm hoping to catch up this month and read Cytonic because the fourth book and the final installment to the series comes out in November. So it'd be really great to be all caught up and I can finish the series. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's to leave series unfinished. Even if I don't like them, it just gnaws on me to not finish a series. Thankfully with Skyward, I have really enjoyed this series. I just haven't had the time to get to the third book. If you aren't familiar with the Skyward series, I don't want to spoil anything, but just a quick synopsis of the first book in this series titled Skyward. This is the story of a human girl named Spensa Nightshade. She is living on a planet that has the last of the human race, and this planet is constantly being attacked by aliens known as the Krell from above. Humans are forced to now live underground for safety. The only defense that they have is their military, which consists of fighter pilots who patrol the world above and fight off the Krell. Now, Spensa dreams of one day becoming a pilot, much like her father, but when her father deserts his team during a mission, the military has no choice but to punish him by execution, and now Spensa has no chance of ever joining the military due to her father's past mistakes. All of this changes, though, when Spensa stumbles upon a deserted cave and she finds a long-forgotten spaceship. It's not from this world, let's just say, and she cleans off the spaceship. She learns how to master the controls of it, and she builds actually a relationship with this spaceship. And from there, Spensa now has the chance to fulfill her dream of becoming a fighter pilot and saving the human race. What I really like about this series is that you take something like sci-fi and fighter jets, topics that are really intimidating and confusing for readers who are not in the sci-fi space, and it makes it very digestible and accessible. Plus, the characters are just a lot of fun. I like the humor in the past two books. From what I remember, I think I liked the romance too in this book. There really isn't a romance, but it's like a light romance. I really enjoyed that as well between Spensa and the male love interest. But anyways, hopefully I can get to the third book in August and wrap up the series in November. If I have time, I will get to them, but we'll see. These two books were inspired by my trip to San Diego Comic-Con. The first one is going to be Ebony Gate by Julia V and Ken, I think it's Bebel. This is the first book in the Phoenix Horde series. I know at least for Julia V, this is her debut novel. I believe it's an adult fantasy series. I saw this at the Tor Publishing Books booth in the Comic-Con exhibit hall. I thought the cover was really neat, and the concept is cool too. We are following a character named, I think, Imiko. She is the blade of the Sun clan. She's also known as the Butcher of Beijing. She's a pretty deadly assassin from a very powerful magical family, but recently she has tarnished her reputation and she now works in San Francisco selling antiques. But her life gets turned upside down when she is visited by a Shinigami, or god of death, who is calling on a family blood debt and asks that Imiko come seal the Ebony Gate. The Ebony Gate is what divides the underworld from our world. The gate has since opened, and there are bloodthirsty ghosts coming into San Francisco. And so Imiko is fighting off these ghosts. She's trying to reseal the gate, and if she fails, she will lose her life in the process. And then the last book on my August TBR is going to be The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I got to meet Holly Black at San Diego Comic-Con, which was awesome. I ran into her by happenstance, like in the hallway, and I was like, oh my God, that's Holly Black. And she was really sweet. We took a picture together, and then I ended up attending her speaker session. She did a session on magic systems, and it was a great session. She is so smart and talented, and so it just revamped my desire to read some of her books. I loved the Folk of the Air series. I haven't gotten to the Book of Night yet, but wanted to get to the Stolen Heir. I know that came out earlier this year. Takes place 8 years after the original series. It's the first installment of what I think is going to be a duology. We are following two characters that were supporting characters in the Folk of the Air series. There is Serene and Oak. Now, I remember Prince Oak. He was a cute character. I don't really remember Serene that much, but Prince Oak, he is now all grown up. He's like 17 or 18 in this novel, and he is manipulative and sneaky, and he is out on some kind of a quest. I'm not sure what. But he ends up crossing paths with Serene, who is a child queen. She was in an abusive environment, and she is now on the run in the human world. And Serene has to learn to trust Oak for the sake of her safety, but Oak is kind of sketchy. So sounds like a lot of fun. So hopefully I will get to the Stolen Heir soon and let you guys know my thoughts on that one as well. All right, you guys, that is gonna do it for my August TBR. If you wanna get a better idea of books I like to read, I will go ahead and link a playlist to some of my past reading vlogs up above and down below for you to check out. Let me know down in the comments what you are reading this August, and I hope you have a great start to the month. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!